In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Oh yeah!
Season 5, baby! Season 5! 130,000 explosions we've done so far. This is episode 130,000, isn't it?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, minus
Yeah,
about
okay.
129,385, but it's
I think that's
it's
right.
somewhere in there. Yeah. Hey, I'm Loop.
And I'm Larry.
Yeah, this is Guardians of Geek. It's been a while since we've been on. Like it's well, we took the summer off, so fall's just started like officially like last week or this week. So we're back in session, season 5, and as you can see behind me, there's we got a new Game of Thrones inspired logo.
Yeah. It's all about the Game of Thrones. It's all about fantasy this year.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that means, but that's how we're starting out.
So
Quite honestly, I didn't even think we'd make it to season 5. I didn't think we'd make it past episode 5. So
yeah, that's
I'm
true.
quite
Yeah.
excited.
The only different thing we're going to do, we're still going to do pop capacitor. That's all the same. We're going to bring back top pop, but we're not going to talk about things coming out unless we feel like it, because top pop is now just going to be things we're geeking out about. It could be something coming out, could be something we're just currently doing, could be something old that we've re-experienced. There's lots of things that can go, different ways it can go. So let's check it out right now. Let's go with top pop.
Hey kids, it's time for Luke and Larry's Totally Tubular Top Pop!
All right, there's the opener. It is back for top pop. I think we had just that sitting around.
Yeah. We hadn't been using it in so long it was getting dusty.
Hey,
Like we had to kind of take the dust off of the thing and shake it out and make sure it still worked.
So hey, we can reuse this again. So top pop basically are just things like I said, like that we're geeking out about, and I'm going to list them all. The 4 different. We're going to do 4 things today, and we'll just talk about each one as we go. We're going to talk about new toys, Comic-Cons, Andor, and then Rings versus Dragons. Those are your categories.
Yes. I'll take rings for 1,000, please.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with new toys. So both of us kind of made purchases that you often see like ads for toys or like an article about a toy. And last year I did that. I saw an article, I think it was in Nerdist, about this toy from Clash of the Titans.
Wait, can I just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
We can't call them toys. They are adult collectibles.
Yeah, they are collectibles. I shouldn't say toys.
Yeah, adult collectibles. It says it right on the box for adult collectible collectors only. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I call them when I talk to my wife, I call it investments. These are investments.
That's right.
So I'm a big Clash of the Titans fan. I saw this last year, and it's been almost 8 months since I've ordered this, and I did it on a whim. I was like, oh my god, I got to order this. So do you remember Bubo, the owl from Clash of the Titans, the mechanical owl that the gods give to Perseus? That so I kind of
Oh, he's so awesome, and he's gone.
there he is. Oh, there he is. Hey.
He's so cool. That's really cool.
Okay, so it's got moving head, moving beak. Its beak opens, and it's got like the wings open as well, which is really cool. But it's made out of vinyl, but it's full size. It's the size. This is the size of the owl in the movie. So it's like,
are you gonna keep it in your backyard on a branch?
I am, and then it's gonna go.
Yep. That's the plan. Okay.
Yeah. I love this thing. I saw it and I'm like, I gotta get this, and it's like, I'm so glad I did, but it was a bit expensive, but I got it. It's now
when you see if you run into Loop on the street, he'll actually be carrying that because he can't part with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna carry it all the time now with me.
Yeah. It's very exciting. Speaking of which, you kind of need to be watching the YouTube version of our podcast. You're not going to get the whole experience if you're just listening to it on as an audio podcast. So switch over to the YouTube side to see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so this is basically it's an exact replica of the owl from the movie. Like, and it looks like dead on. It looks so cool. So
that is very. We've been talking about this thing for many months. So we were
because I'm like, when are they shipping this out? I ordered it back in like October or November of last year. So
that was very exciting.
And when you know it's a pre-order, you know, like the cost is no issue because you haven't paid for it yet, so you don't care. So I just ordered it, and then I'm like, oh Jesus, more expensive than I thought it was going to be by the time there's shipping. And then on top of that, when I went to get it, they so in Canada, the post office, like because it has to go across the border, and it's of a certain like cost, they charged me another $50 when I picked it up for border charges or something. And I'm like, okay, now I got another 50 invested in it. So
yikes. Yeah, that's pricey, but it's worth it.
Oh, it's so cool. It looks so cool. So what did you get?
All right, so I did a little shopping of my own. So since we couldn't make it to the San Diego Comic-Con this year, or really ever, I was paying close attention to their exclusives and what they were selling and what was going to be available. So one of the things that was available, I got instantly excited about, but it was at San Diego Comic-Con. I was like, I'm never going to get this thing. And then for whatever reason, they made it public for a really short window. And I happened to like catch it when it was made public. So I of course, jumped on this and had to pick this thing up. Now that I have it, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it, but it was something I had to have. And it is this.
Oh yeah. Bad Robot. See,
Robot.
That is
Bad
so
Robot.
Cool. Is that like leather? What is that?
It's like leather. It might be like pleather, but it smells like leather. But it's
huge.
It's huge. I don't know if you, there you go. You can kind of see there. Look at.
Oh my God, huge. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's like spot on the actual thing, and it's because look it. It's Toy Central here. I mean, adult collectible central.
Yeah.
So I've been obviously a fan of J.J. Abrams forever, and you know, some of my favorite shows, Lost and Fringe, and then the Star Wars movies, and just like the worlds that he's created have been amazing, and they always end with Bad Robot.
Yeah.
So I had to have. Oh, I'm gone. I had to have the Bad Robot in my house. Again, don't know what I'm gonna do with it. And
it looks cool though. That looks
it's super cool. His little hands move. Well, sort of. They're kind of bendable. But unlike Loop's, mine was not very expensive at all. It was really, I was really quite. It was $50.
That was $50 for that?
Yes. I was like, how could I not get this thing? So
mine was many $50.
Yes. It was $50 just to get it out of the post office.
I couldn't believe they charged me for that.
That's a crazy.
That's awesome. I love like just I love these toys and these replicas of things, and it's just so exciting. Like you just have to own it. If you're a fan, you've got to have it.
Yeah, and I love that we're adults now and can make the decisions on our own to buy these things without permission. Although when they show up, we have to justify having these.
Why we had? I got that question. It's like, do we need this? And like, yeah. I put mine in the living room till Jen noticed it. Like I just let it sit, and then she's like, "What is that?"
Yes.
Yeah, she already knew I'd ordered it a while ago, but it was like.
See, I told nobody. Mine just showed up, and I put it on a table in our basement near the TV. And my wife and I were watching TV, and she just looks over and does this. What? What is? Why? What is that?
Never question why we need.
If you put it out there, it looks like it belongs. That's all.
That's right. That's all right. You just add it into the collection.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Comic-Cons. Speaking of toys and things to buy, so this has been the year of Comic-Cons. We've been like almost every Comic-Con that I know of, that especially in our area has been a go.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's been so long. So finally we're able to jump back in. I mean, we did get to go to Fan Expo last year, but it was kind of a half expo. It really, they weren't able to come back in full force, and it was a little awkward and not the best. So I don't really consider that a full return to the Comic-Con world. But this year was 100% back to Comic-Conning. Vendors,
like there were some areas that would normally have been filled with vendors they didn't have, but that's fine. Like they had lots of vendors, like they had tons. So
yeah,
it was good.
all the celebrities were back. They had a big Game of Thrones contingency. No, that's not the right. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Lots of people from Game of Thrones. I mean, Stranger Things, not Game of Thrones. Stranger Things.
What show are you talking
I
about?
don't even know. This Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
a lot of cast members from Stranger Things were there. Like,
yeah. So yeah, it was just exciting to be back and to be mingling with the 100,000 people that we haven't gotten to see in the last 3 years. So that was pretty exciting. That was the Fan Expo in Toronto at the end of August. And then London, where we live, had its own London Comic-Con. So we attended that one too. It's just Comic-Cons are just so fun. Like it just feels like going home. You just have this kinship with all these people who are there, and it's just so great to be back.
Yeah, and I think we're doing in the end of October Frightmare at the Falls, which is in Niagara Falls, Canada, and it's like it's just a horror con.
Yeah,
so it'll be fun too.
Except for some reason, Tom Arnold is going to I
think he was in like one horror movie. I think I don't know.
He was in one of the one of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, like
he was
Freddy's Nightmare or something.
And I feel like he played himself in it too. I feel like I can remember.
Tom Arnold. It's Tom Arnold.
Well, he was married to Roseanne, so I mean could be frightening at times. So we'll see. Hey-oh! So dumb.
Yeah, so we're back and we're all like we're at 100% geek level again.
Oh yeah, it's been a good year for cons for sure. It's been a lot of fun. All right, well, let's move on. There's a lot of TV has come out this year already. I'd say this year has like the most returns in TV that I have ever seen. Yeah. Like every show I know that can come back has come back this year. Some shows have had 2 seasons within this year. It's just been like incredible the amount of material that's been pumped out this year. But one of the shows that came out, Star Wars, has been continuing on, and Andor just came out. So I know you're a huge Star Wars fan, Larry. Tell me what you think so far.
I'm obsessed. I am literally obsessed with Andor. To me, this is what Star Wars should be. Rogue One, as hard as it is to say, because I'm like I will forever be like a fan of episode 4, 5, and 6, the originals. But Rogue One for me was the best of the new movies. I love it. I could watch it over and over again. And Andor feels like that. It's so real. To me, this show feels like what it would feel like to live in that world. It's dirty, it's gritty, but it's real. Like there aren't stormtroopers like trooping around and shooting things. And it's like espionage and criminality, and it's just dark, but it's just so real, and everybody in it, the casting is phenomenal. Like the people are just so well cast, and I love it. I watched the first 3 episodes back to back because they all released on the same day. The next day I watched all 3 episodes again back to back. I'll probably watch them again. Today is a Wednesday that we're recording this, so episode 4 I think has just released today. I'll probably watch the first 3 episodes again, then watch episode 4, because I literally can't get enough of this show.
I'll tell you what I think of it is this is what I think of this. Yes. Oh, you wait. No, it's like I like the tone of this one a lot better because it's more like Rogue One. Like not like too dark, but like in that sort of like more reality based. And what it's done is taken the goofle meter and turned it down, like of the Star Wars goofle meter. Because and this is what I see. This is what I found like with what was the last one they did?
Boba Fett.
Between those.
What was between?
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
With Obi-Wan, I found it was like I was so excited about it. I just found it was a little too goofy. Like there was too many things that were like there were some great moments in it, but there was also stuff in it that I was like, this has just gotten like the last episode for me saved that series.
Yes.
But like it got goofy, like when there was the he'd pulled up to that gate and it was like an electrical gate and he could have easily walked around it. Like it was almost like, oh, how do we get through this? And I'm like, okay, like just little it's the details that ruined it for me in that one. But this one is great. I love the tone of it. I love like everything about it is so cool. Like it's just this is what a Star Wars show or movie should be. Like
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, I do like a little bit of humor. So I like the robot that's in it.
Yes.
I'm assuming the other what's his KSO1 or what's his name?
KSO. Yeah.
Yeah, KSO. I'm assuming he'll be in it at some point later
Well,
in
I
the
would
series.
yeah, I would assume so. What they've said is that when this series ends, it ends the day before Rogue One starts. So
Oh,
it'll
cool.
it'll take you right up until Rogue One. So when it's finished, it will be like this huge universe that they've built leading up to Rogue One and including Rogue One. K2SO, sorry, it's K2SO.
K2SO, yeah. I've heard that the like this is like several seasons, but each season's about 12 episodes, and they're each one's like a different year or something, or I can't remember how they built it. Like, but
well, that because so if they're taking it up to the day before Rogue One, this is 5 years before Rogue One happens. So potentially there could be 5 seasons, and each season is a year. Potentially in span. So I've got one theory that I'm going to put out here now.
Okay.
So since this goes right up to Rogue One, I do think we're going to see K2SO. And here's my thought: the new droid that they've introduced is called what's it called? B2 EMO.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They call him B2 or B. I think if you listen to the way that B2 talks, he sounds very similar to K2SO. Just he's like irreverent and kind of like talks back a little bit. And I have a feeling over the course of the seasons that his personality chip will be transplanted into K2SO, because K2SO was a reprogrammed Imperial droid.
Right.
So at some point he's been reprogrammed, and he acts very similar to this little droid, and this little droid's been part of Andor's life for a long time, for years and years. So I think that something will happen to this little droid, and his personality chip or whatever will be transplanted into K2SO, and that's how that will happen. That's my prediction. I'm just putting that out there early on, so that when it happens, you can look back and say, Larry knew what he was talking about for once.
For once in his life.
And I have one more quick thing to say about Andor, and one of the reasons I'm so into it. We got a chance over the summer to go to Disney World, my family and I, and went to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So and spent a couple of days in Galaxy's Edge. The sets on Andor look almost identical to what they've done in Galaxy's Edge. So I feel like when I'm watching it, I feel like I was there. Like I saw that. I mean, I didn't, it wasn't exactly the same, but it feels just like that. So it's another connection that they're making, that because Galaxy's Edge takes place on Black Spire, in this Black Spire outpost on the planet of Batuu. And the buildings and the architecture and all of the looks very similar to the planets that they're using on Andor. So it just felt right to me. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah. So that's my thought on Andor and my predictions, and hopefully I'm right, because I'm
I can't wait to see how this like plays out with the 12 episodes and everything. I think it's gonna be really cool. So here's our last topic. Because 2 shows came out very similar as far as like from the same genre, not necessarily similar in context, but so it's Rings of Power, House of Dragons. Both, I don't know why one didn't delay for the other one. They're both very expensive shows. Both like shows that people are really waiting for. So I've watched both of them. I'm caught up on both.
Me too.
So what's your take on Rings versus Dragons? Now, keeping in mind that they're both 2 totally different shows, really, other than that they're both like fantasy based. So
I love them both. Like I was really surprised. I kind of thought that I'd like one more than the other, and the other would kind of, fade away or whatever. But they're both so different. But they're both so in keeping with their source material. Do you know what I mean? So House of Dragons feels just like Game of Thrones. I love this new House of Dragons. To me, it's on par with Game of Thrones. I just love it. I love the characters. I love what's happening. I love the, trying to figure out who's being pit against whom, and like battles are coming and dragons, and I love it. And it feels like Game of Thrones. And so does the Lord of the Rings. Feels like the Peter Jackson movies. Like it looks like that. But the Lord of the Rings one is so beautiful. Like I cannot, every time I watch it, I'm thinking, how is this not on the big screen? Like it is so epic. Like it is, every scene is just massive and so much detail. And the score sounds like a movie score. It's like, it just blows me away that this is the quality of TV that we're getting right now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Rings of Power to me is like obviously much more fantasy looking. I mean, you also have dwarves and elves and things like that, but even the backgrounds are very fantasy sort of like looking. House of Dragons obviously a lot more gritty, a lot more political. I would say there's politics in the other show as well. There's things on both I'm not huge fans of. Like so House of Dragons, there's a couple things. One, the wigs. Like the target, like I just like my friend Steve had mentioned them, like, and now I can't stop thinking about them every time I watch it. Like they're just look terrible in some cases. Like they're pretty bad. In the newest episode, I don't know if you've caught up.
I've watched it. Yeah, that particular episode, the wigs are not good.
No, it's. I mean, they kind of like sort of painted themselves in a corner with how the hair of like the Targaryens would look. You know what I mean? So. Yeah. There was something else in House 2 that I was just not 100% on, but I think it's because in House, the one thing I'm waiting for more like, I want to say fun characters, but more characters I can really get behind in this, whereas House had that, or sorry, Game of Thrones had that, whereas this one, they haven't really emerged where I'm like really behind a certain, like everyone seems evil to me. Everyone seems like everyone's conniving. Like, so it's like, I'm looking for that kind of fun character that I can kind of get behind, but I mean that'll probably emerge over time.
I'm just like, but you're right. I mean, the original Game of Thrones, like Tyrion, was a pretty serious character, but he was witty, as well. Like none of the characters in House of Dragons are really witty because they're all
there's not like a really like a lot of humor. Is in it, I guess, like, and not that the other one had a lot of humor, but it kind of did. Like it had like some lighter moments, and this one just is sort of missing that. Everybody's just so angry in it. Like, generally, I do like the king a lot. I love that guy. The other thing, on the other side on Rings of Power, I'm finding it slow. I find it very slow. Like I've literally, I think I've like nodded off in every episode at least once. I just, and again, I'm looking for characters to grab onto in this, and I think. Because Lord of the Rings had the hobbits, and then as the hobbits progressed, you kind of added characters that you kind of learned to love. This is like there's characters like all over the place, and it's very hard to like really attach yourself to characters only because you only see them for bits and pieces. Like I love the like they're like I guess they're hobbits, I guess like the
that's
like
what
early hobbits. They're just more
but
nomadic hobbits than they don't live in the Shire, but.
Like primitive hobbits.
Like I love them, and there's a couple things I like, but I'm finding it like again, it's just I'm looking for like a central sort of character that I can kind of get myself behind and move forward through it. Like that's not so serious.
I feel that same way. It is slow. Like there's a lot. Like every episode is over an hour long. So they do pack a lot in, and there's also a lot of exposition. So there's a lot of just characters sort of talking about things and
they talk all right.
What their plans are. So it's kind of different. So in Lord of the Rings, the movies, there was a lot of walking.
Yes.
This show, there's a lot of talking. Not so much walking. Not as much walking.
So do you want to watch Lord of the Rings walking, or do you want to watch Lord of the Rings talking? We got everything now. It's like
that's right. They wanted to balance it out a little bit. But just I mean, it's so cool visually. It
does look fantastic. I mean, they spent a lot of money on it, so I should hope it would be like.
I know, but it is the kind of show that I feel like it's going to be hard to go back and rewatch the whole thing because first of all, it's really long. I mean, it's going to be, I don't know how many episodes there are, 10 or 12,
something along that. Yeah, I think it's about 10.
It's a fairly long show, but there is a lot of. It's not fast paced, but I feel like at this point we're at episode 6. I think just finished. Is that right?
Was it 5? I think just finished.
Maybe 5. I feel like it. My prediction on this is it's going to get faster.
It's going to get what?
It's going to get faster.
Okay, yeah.
They're heading to Middle Earth.
Yeah, there's some stuff happening. Sorry, I'm just looking up 8 episodes
Oh, really? So
in
there's only
first season.
there's only
Yeah,
three left.
yeah, 5 just ended, so there's 3 left in this season. So
Oh, interesting. I thought there were more than that. Well, they got a lot of traveling to do then,
a
because
lot of Middle Earthing to do.
that's right. They better start walking and stop the talking.
Enough of the talking, more walking is what we're looking for.
Yep, and then it'll be okay. Yeah, but they're both great. Like I'm so excited about the fantasy genre right now. It's just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I just to me it was like, why wouldn't one of them wait till the other one came out, or unless they thought like, oh, let's put them both out at the same time. But it just seemed weird that like 2 fantasy shows of this magnitude both came out at the same time. Like, so you kind of have to split like what you're watching, right? So it's
I mean, they're on at different times of the week. Like one premieres on Fridays and one's on Sundays. So there is a little bit of a delay. But I mean, really, they could have waited 2 months with Lord of the Rings and let the one finish. But anyway, it's all fantasy all the time now for like 2 solid months.
Woo!
It's awesome.
I love it. All right, well, that's the end of that end of Top Pop. So we'll let's move on to the pop capacitor. Let's check it out. All right, it's time for the pop capacitor. And this is where we look back at an old TV show, a movie, we revisit maybe some toys, whatever it is, and we review it and see if it's worthy of your time or something we should have left in the past and buried. We're not sure. So before First Avenger, before Winter Soldier, before Civil War, we had Captain America, the original TV movie. And that's what we're going to be looking at today on Pop Capacitor. Woo! This one was a classic.
From 1979, way back in the old action-packed days in the 1970s TV. In this classic.
So apparently someone had played Captain America in like 1944 in some serial like piece, but this is the first time someone's made a full movie of Captain America. So this one, it's the kind of the origin story of Captain America, starring Reb Brown. He was also in Sword and the Sorcerer and Your Hunter from the Future. If you've ever seen those movies, I own them both, but he was the lead in both of those. Basically, this is what they've described it as: a recipient of an experimental body enhancement chemical retaliates against the would-be killers as a star-spangled superhero. That's the description that's been given for this movie.
Is that what happened in this movie? Okay.
I'm not even sure what happened in this movie. So, so just to give a bit of background. So this is again, from 1979, it's a TV movie. And so you can imagine the budget, not quite as good as you would expect as they can do now. Anyways, we'll go through our hits and misses like we normally would do. And do you want to start with a hit or a miss, or how do you, I've got one or the other, whatever you...
Let me tell you, my hit list is very, very short.
Okay, so, the very short hit list. Okay.
Miss list is quite long. So I don't know. Do you want to start? We'll start with the positives. Let's start with the positives. Okay.
Yeah.
So my first one is the nostalgia from 1970s action TV shows. So I thought it was cool because it did feel it felt like an episode of Chips, or you know what I mean? Like it felt like an episode of the Incredible Hulk with Lou
Ferrigno.
The Lou Ferrigno version. It had that same music that they used in every action TV show, the same style of shooting. So from a nostalgia point of view, it was fun to watch because it totally felt like those shows. So that was fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump off yours and I'm going to give a hit to the music. And as I'm watching it, well, first of all, it kind of ranged between sort of an action-y type music, like from that time period, and like porn music, depending on what scene you're in. It was kind of like a very weird mix of music. But as I'm watching, I'm like, oh my, this sounds like something like would be on the A-Team, like the kind of background music they use. Well, it turns out Mike Post did the music, who also did the A-Team.
That explains it.
That would explain it, because I'm like, at the end I see Mike Post name. I'm like, okay, well that's why, because it sounds like any of the A-Team music, like I feel like Mike Post has just a library of music, and he just throws it
Yes.
whatever show he needs it for. Like,
But it may have actually been repeat. Like it sounded so close to other music that we've heard. It could very well have been stuff.
oh,
he'd written
easy.
for something else.
Like it totally sounded like, now that I hear it and I knew it was Mike Post, I'm like, okay, that's totally Mike Post music. Like it sounds exactly like the A-Team, like background music for all their action scenes and whatever. There's a couple parts I thought were kind of funny. There's a part where Steve is on the which is Captain America. He's on a phone with somebody, and every time they cut to him, there's music, like some sort of action music playing. But when they cut to the other person in a lab, there's none. But
Yes.
I'm like, is this background music that's playing like where he is, or is this just action music they're playing when they show him? I couldn't quite tell because after he gets off the phone, the music's gone. So I wasn't sure where this music was coming from. Like I thought it was his accent music, but it was apparently not.
I feel like this particular Steve Rogers carried around a little boombox with him, and it just played action music wherever he went. Because I got the same thing. It's like, where's the music going? Why is the music not carrying through this whole scene? Anyway,
there's a lot of like weird music, like stings and things, but it was very television, less movie sounding, more television sounding for sure.
Very much, yeah.
But I think again, nostalgicness and because I watched so many like shows that Mike posted the music for, I think that's why I was like enjoying the music portion of it, because it was very nostalgic sounding.
Absolutely. So there's a hit. I actually only have one more hit, so I'm gonna throw it out there right now. Okay,
I think I only have two. Do it how they look at it. Yeah.
Okay, here it is. It's a lot shorter than the current Marvel movies. Yep. So this movie is only like an hour and 35 minutes or so, 37 minutes. So it's a significantly shorter than most of the Marvel movies. So you can get through it fairly quickly.
Can I just say, though, this movie seemed a lot longer than an hour 30.
It
like
sure did.
at one point I was like, this is like, what are we, 2 hours into this? And we're only like an hour in at that point. I'm like, okay, my only other hit was that I love in these old shows, like the elaborate setups to capture somebody, which could be a miss in some cases. But like there was like there's a part where Steve Rogers is driving. So they have this, like, I don't know, again, like in a lot of these movies and shows, how do they know where this person's going to end up going? Like there's like, he ends up going down this kind of this road. So they end up having this construction crew, which diverts him onto a side road. Like I think they're trying to kill him, I guess. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it was so convoluted how they were gonna, like, how this, like the setup, and everybody's dressed up as construction workers and everything. I'm like, this is so like early 80s action. Like this, like why they would go to this much problem. Why they just have someone step out and shoot him in the car. Like that would have been done. Like it was just so ridiculous. Like, okay, so they had an oil slick as well. Oh, so he goes off the road. Then they have another truck that puts a big oil slick so his car would spin off the road. And that was like, I'm like, why like they could have just shot him from like a sniper. Like it would have been so much easier.
Because what happened was, okay, so I just need to piggyback off of this, because this is my first miss. Okay, this particular scene. So this particular scene is literally the opening of the movie. It's the very first scene, essentially. Well, almost. It's almost the first scene. Right off the top, where Steve Rogers has gotten into his van and he's driving and he's been diverted. But to go along with what you're saying, not only was this massively convoluted and huge and would have been really expensive for them to set up, but the fake construction workers stopped him at the roadblock and said, "Well, we're doing some construction over here. You have to take that road up there." So the bad guy was literally standing about 3 inches from him to tell him to go that road. He could have just like choked him out or something, instead of saying, "No, you got to go up there because we've got an oil slick truck that cost us a lot of money and we got to use it." I was like,
it was so convoluted. I was like, it was so much so that I was like, what is going on in the scene? Like, why are these villains like so stupid? Like, what is going on here?
Well, my thought on that whole scene was, did I miss an entire backstory? Like, did I miss like the first half hour of this movie that explained why they even knew who Steve Rogers was? Like, there was no setup at all.
No.
The reason that they were wanting to kill him. Like, there is anyway. We
Yeah,
don't want
'cause
to
it
go
was-
into all the details, but
There was something. Honestly, I'm not even 100% sure. I just know it had something to do with like his dad had like, which would have been the equivalent to the super serum.
yes,
But again, here's one of my misses. I'll go right into it now, which was that Captain America has a history.
yes.
And I mean, you could deviate from it a little bit, and the new movies kind of do, but they say kind of the same. So it's not he doesn't turn into Captain America in the war. His dad was sort of Captain America, and he's the son of his dad. But his dad was never like, I don't think he was a superhero, so to
No,
speak. I'm not really
his
sure.
father was like a lawyer who they gave the backstory. They said his father was, I guess, kind of a lawyer, and he was going after like the top criminals, like the gangsters, like the mafia guys in the world, and taking them down, like because of their criminal behavior. And he was so successful at this that the criminals nicknamed him Captain America. I don't know why Captain America has anything to do with him taking down mafia leaders and putting them in jail, but that was the backstory. So his father had nothing, was not a superhero, had no superpowers. He just was going after the bad guy.
Yeah, and
Like,
so in this though, they, instead of like calling it the super serum, which would have been like, okay, I got it, this is going to make him strong, like by the word super or whichever, they call it flag, which is full latent ability gain.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for. And I'm like, that sounds like something like where people go, okay, we need to call it something, and we'll call it flag because he's got the flag on him. But now we got to find words that fill out that. It makes no sense. It doesn't even flow. Like full latent ability gain. What's that mean? Like I don't even know what that means. Like it's called the super serum. He got it right there. Like it's like, why did they have to come up with this stupid acronym? Like that makes no sense.
I don't know. But so going along with the whole backstory thing, so Steve Rogers' actual backstory was that he was like in the war, and he really wanted to be a soldier, but he was too young or too tiny and whatever. And he was like a real American hero to start with, right? Like that was kind of his personality. In this one, this Steve Rogers is like a sensitive beach artist. He's like literally this guy has zero charisma.
Oh,
and
yeah, none.
All he wants to do is sit on the beach and paint and draw pictures. He literally says at one point, I want every day to be the same. Like he actually says that. Like he has no ambition. He has no charisma. Like there's no reason at all that this guy would make a good superhero, because he doesn't care about anything.
I guess that would be the contrast of like him versus like what he becomes. I don't know, but it wasn't very well explained. That was the problem.
But he didn't really even get past that, because at the end he was still drawing pictures and making little paintings. I'm like, this is like the lamest superhero guy I've ever seen. Like
he was he not like like in the army himself, like at some point prior to this, like so he had some military experience.
That's what he said. He said at one point he had been in the military and then in the Marines, and so he was tired of saying yes sir and having to take orders from people. So now I'm just going to be a chill beach bum and draw pictures of people. But I mean, like he didn't even want to be in the military. Like he didn't have any desire. Like he was so boring.
Yeah, that was one of my misses as well. Is it was like the most boring origin story I've ever heard. Like it was just like just a snooze fest. This thing, like it was like, what is happening? I will say in this generally, this was so very slowly paced, like almost like snail pace of storytelling. Like it was there was.
Yeah, and that leads into one of my misses. This movie could easily have been a half an hour shorter if they cut out all of the long takes that they did of Steve Rogers just staring into the camera thinking, because the camera would come to him and he'd do this and just look like he's staring, and they would stay on that for like a solid like 30 seconds. If they took all of those out, the movie would easily have been half an hour shorter.
To jump on that miss, it was my other miss was the long shots of people driving. There were so many shots of just like aerial shots of like I don't know if they got a helicopter for a day or what it was, but they they used it, man. It was like so many aerial shots of people driving. I was like, oh my God, stop driving. And they'd have this screeching like rock guitar, like as they're driving, like this kind of like rock, like this music, like this action music. And it's like, they're just driving around. They're not being chased. They're just like driving from one location to another. Like it was so like, long.
That was one of my misses too. I actually wrote down, if you've seen a helicopter fly for 30 seconds, you don't need to watch it fly for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You get it. It's flying. But yeah, they had to make use of the whole $3,000 they spent on that helicopter rental, I guess. I don't know. But they literally like filled it. This movie should have been a half an hour TV episode. Like that's what it should have. There was so much extra garbage that didn't need to be in there. Sorry.
Go on. Yeah. What's your next miss?
Well, I was going to say my other miss, just going along with how boring Steve Rogers' backstory was. He also, I'm quite confident they Botoxed his face, because for the first like half of it, he didn't even smile. He literally didn't change expression. At one point, in this opening scene where we told you about, where he's gone off this road, his van crashes. It literally rolls down a hill, and then they cut to it, and he just gets out of it and totally stoic, just looks around and kind of brushes off his shoulder and just walks away. Like no emotion, not like, oh my gosh, this just happened. My van. He literally was like, all right, well, okay. And the same thing happened at one point. One of his family friends, his father's friends, is murdered in his house, and Steve Rogers like gets to him, or he's murdered. So just before he dies, Steve Rogers gets to him, and the guy dies in his arms. And it was exactly the same thing. No emotion, no smile, no tears. The guy dies, and Steve Rogers gets up and goes to a phone. And is like, he just died, and yeah, I think he was murdered or something. I don't know, but but like there was no. I'm like, who asked this guy? He had zero emotion on his face at all. Like at all, he didn't show any emotion.
I don't know if he had a lot of range. I'm not really sure. Like the like Red Brown looked the part. Like he looked like he, like, you know what I mean. If he was
like he was probably like close to 7 feet tall. He was a tall guy.
Yeah,
and buff. Like he looked like. Physically, he looked like he could be Captain America, but that's the only attribute that he had, because he just like his acting ability was so bad. I love it.
One of my misses has to do with the costume.
Okay.
I mean, so I'll put it in perspective that this is from 1979, so it wasn't bad. Like it had like it's like where the Captain America in the new movies has like the cowl. His was like a helmet instead, because he didn't have to ride a motorcycle, so they had him in a helmet. And with the Captain America sort of like wings painted onto the helmet, and then like this sort of, I don't know, like a jumpsuit. It's behind you in the shot there. You can see.
Yeah, he looks more like Evel Knievel.
He does. He actually does look a lot more like Evel Knievel.
Yeah,
and his shield was see-through, and I'm assuming it was see-through so that like when he had it up, you could still see his face through it. I'm assuming that's why. And it was more, but it was obviously plastic. Like it was like because it would warp. Yeah, it warped like plastic. My biggest problem with the costume is this is a Captain America movie, and I realize it's an origin story. It was an hour and 14 minutes, I counted, until you saw him in a costume. Like an hour and 14.
The movie's only an hour and 37.
Yeah, so there's maybe 20 minutes left in the movie where he can actually wear it. The rest of it, he doesn't wear it at all. So I'm like it just seemed weird as a movie that's based around Captain America that he's not in like costume within the first half hour of the movie. Like that's because 40 minutes. I'll give him 40 minutes like to get into a costume, but
that's because nothing happens in the first hour and 14 minutes of the movie.
Oh my God.
They had to take that time to tell you nothing, to do nothing. It was literally just filler. I don't know what was happening. I'll jump on the back of that miss. So you're talking about the costume. I'm going to talk about this motorcycle. He's given this super cycle. I don't know what it's literally a motorcycle that looks very 70s. It's kind of cool looking, but this is, I guess, supposed to be his, like, sets him apart from people because he's got this super motorcycle. It's super because it has 3 buttons on it. So it's got 3 things that he can do. One of them is rocket launch. One
Okay,
of them
sounds
is
cool.
jet assist,
Oh, nice.
and one of them is silent. So rocket launch is only used to like propel him out of. So the the motorcycle's stored in a van. So the rocket launch is only used to propel him out of the van. So once he's out of the van, that's the end of the rocket launch. You don't need. That's not an actual rocket. It's literally to like shoot
Launch him
out.
out. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what that one's for. The jet assist is like a turbo boost. So if he needs to get away, he could just hit the jet assist, and it just gives him a boost of speed. Like
Okay.
right, it just makes him go fast. The silent is literally to make the bike silent.
Yeah.
That's it. So this motorcycle, all it can do is go fast and be quiet. Those are the capabilities of this motorcycle. Be fast and be quiet.
Did it really need the rocket launch button? Like he has to get out of the van, so I don't like that would be how he'd get out. So I don't know why he needs a special button for it. Like
I don't
it's
know,
like
why couldn't they just put a ramp on the van and he could just like just drive down the ramp? Like if it says the word rocket, give him some rockets to shoot out of it.
Yeah, shoot out or whatever. Yeah.
Like this motorcycle did nothing. But they spent probably 10 minutes, like a 10-minute scene of him just tooling around on the motorcycle through the dunes.
Oh God, those driving scenes.
Going and going and going. And at one point he's driving down in the dunes, like on a beach in a dune, and there's like a jump, like a ramp that he jumps up one side and lands on the other side, literally like Evel Knievel, because this is the 70s when Evel Knievel was popular.
Yeah, he was big at that point. Yeah, for sure.
So they threw in a jump ramp in there for no reason. And then it's just like, what is happening here? I don't even understand how this has anything to do with superheroes.
I know, it's so dumb. One of my big misses in this, and I think it's a pretty huge miss, there's no real villain in it. Like there's no like really super established villain. There's like, and I'm not talking like a super villain. Like there was a bad guy who kind of like was part of like a mob or something, or who wanted to get Steve Rogers killed, but he wasn't really well established. Like at one point I didn't even know he was the bad guy. Like I wasn't like, he didn't command like a presence of like, hey, I'm the bad guy here. And this is like, there's a real reason why I want to get him. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't really there until maybe the end. In fact, the guy that was sort of Steve Rogers' handler, who was sort of like trying to get him to become Captain America, it seemed more just the actor seemed like he'd play a better villain than the guy who played the villain. Like,
well, I was fully expecting that guy to turn bad. Like
that's what I thought too. I totally thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, it didn't. And speaking of things that went wrong, this is another one of my misses. And maybe I like literally wasn't paying enough attention or something. But the whole plot of the movie, you'd think, was that the bad guys wanted to steal the flag, like the super serum, right?
Yeah.
But then it ended up that they didn't. They wanted some film of the plans for a hydrogen bomb so they could like create this hydrogen bomb or set it off or something, which had nothing to do with the super serum. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
I don't even know why they were setting off the bomb in the first place. Like, I don't know what they were asking for, or I mean, maybe they said, but I honestly like lost what their purpose was. It wasn't well defined what they were really trying to do.
So like the whole plot is Steve Rogers' father came up with the super serum, but also somehow came up with the plans for this hydrogen bomb. And so for some reason, the bad guys wanted to kill Steve Rogers, but they also needed the film that Steve Rogers' father had to create this hydrogen bomb. So why would they want to kill Steve Rogers before they had this film of the hydrogen bomb?
Yeah, because did they think he knew something? I don't know. That's what I didn't understand, why he needed to be killed rather than captured and then questioned. Like I didn't really understand like what was.
I have no idea. Like I literally the villains. It's almost like they either forgot about the super serum or they didn't really care, because quite honestly, the super serum didn't do anything. This was one of my other misses. The Steve Rogers, after taking the super serum, his biggest superpower was that he could push people.
Yeah. He wasn't like he was. There's one part where I think he jumped really high onto Like he almost had they almost had like a bionic sound, and he jumped really.
Yeah,
Remember, he jumped really
yeah.
high onto like so he had some enhanced abilities, but they didn't show them. They didn't like show him like bending something or like, oh, he's really super strong or picking up the back of a car or like there was a couple parts.
At one point he said, I could hear them and I could see them from far away. Okay.
Yeah,
that was the only reference to that.
El Lamo, man. That was like so one of my misses at the end, it was weird. I call this like weird side conversations that were like not necessary in the movie. There's this whole big sequence at the end where he catches up to like a transport truck, the hydrogen bombs in, he gets on the back of the truck and all this stuff. So the truck's moving, he's on the truck, and he calls his boss, who happens to have a helicopter or something. He goes, and within this whole action sequence, he's on the truck and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I had to drop my bike off, which means like he jumped off the bike onto the back of the truck. So if you guys can go pick that up, that would be great. Like, and I'm like, you're in the middle of this big action scene, and this is your concern. Like, there's a hydrogen bomb in there, and your concern is that, oh, your bike's left on the like I-75, and someone needs to go get it. Like, it was like that would be the least of his concerns, but this was very concerning to him. And I'm like, why is this even a piece of dialogue? Who cares? You know they're going to go get the bike at some point, right? Or make him a new one.
Or you don't. Yeah.
Or you don't. Like, it does not matter. Like, it's really not a thing. Like, but it had to be mentioned. Like, it seemed weird that he had to mention this to the guy that's like, oh yeah, we dropped the bike off. And it was like
somebody on the crew, one of the producers probably went, the viewers are going to wonder where that bike went. We should probably acknowledge the fact that he actually got off of it.
Yeah, like they showed him get off it, but then he was concerned of like that someone was picking it up for him because he didn't want to leave it there. Like, so
no, he didn't want it to get stolen. I don't know.
And then the bad guy had like a bomb attached to his chest, and I think if he died, it would go off. Like, I think was the idea. So Steve Rogers puts like exhaust into the back of the truck, knocks him out basically. And then he calls the boss, and the boss is like talking him through, like, so what does he look like? Is he okay? Like, is he like, and I'm like, this whole like conversation, like, who cares? Like, it's like,
it literally sounded like Dial a Doctor, and
that's what it sounded like. How's his pulse? How is like, I don't need to see all this. Like, and it wasn't even exciting. Like, it was like, he knocked him out. Like, he's not dead. So why?
And Steve Rogers was literally, his lips are turning a little blue right now. He literally says this. His lips are turning a little blue. I don't think that's very good. Like, they were like trying to diagnose what was wrong with him. Meanwhile, we know what's wrong with him. He was blacked out because he like sent like exhaust fumes into the truck. There was no question about what was wrong with him.
I know. And then that was like, okay, the bad guy's like down, but I'm sure he's going to suddenly come back. Like, he's going to like revive, and then they're going to have a big fight scene in the back of the truck. No, that was it. They just pulled over and he was done. Like, it was like, oh, he's still alive. Excellent. All right, we're moving on. Like, what? Like, there was no high action. Like, it was so boring. Like,
there was zero payoff, literally zero payoff.
Zero.
For an hour and 37 minutes of watching this movie, there was zero payoff.
That was terrible. So, like, I don't know. Do you have any more? That was the end of my misses.
That was it. I've got lots more to say, but I mean, there's nothing more that we need to say about this.
Yeah, I'm already angered enough from this movie. Like, I'm just so angry about it. It's so frustrating to watch. I'm like, what is going on? And like, this is how I'm going to sum it up. First of all, I'm going to say this is like didn't stand up the test of time. I mean, other than a bit of nostalgic of how it was shot in the time period it was shot in. It could have
the music.
In the music, it does not stand up. It is like so slow and so boring. And it was like, there was nothing there. Like, the script wasn't good. I mean, we're kind of like making fun of Reb Brown, but he didn't have a lot to work with either in this movie. Didn't. Like, as far as scripting goes, it was terrible. And the story was terrible. Like, it was just convoluted for no reason. It could have been a lot simpler, and I don't know. So apparently this movie was $1 million to make, and it did. I have it here. It did have a sequel as well.
Really?
So it was called Captain America: Death Too Soon. I haven't watched the sequel yet, but so I'm assuming he's in costume for the whole that, or at least most of that movie, because now it's been established. But
right,
I kind of want to watch it, but at the same time, I don't.
No, I think you need to watch that, and you need to report back, because I need to know if he was redeemed, if this was redeemed in any way.
Oh, I know. And well, the other thing too is I read, but apparently he was at a Comic-Con and he said that originally this movie they wanted it to cross over with the Hulk show, like do sort of a crossover movie, and also with that. Remember there was a Spider-Man movie that came out in like 77.
Yes.
Like it was like, so it wanted to cross over with that as well, but none of that ever came about. But it would make sense because this felt like a pilot for a TV show is what this felt like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. It totally felt like like we said, like the Lou Ferrigno Hulk show or anything. Like it probably would have been better if that had been the case. Like he would have had like other characters to play off of, and they could have started up the Avengers or something. Like that would have been pretty cool. This movie would have at least gone somewhere. But because it didn't go anywhere after this, except for the sequel that I just heard about for the first time, I didn't even know it existed. There was nothing there. You need to watch that.
I know. I feel like I do. There's the backup there. So
I think you really do. Yeah, because you got to make up for the fact. And then I also have one last thing to add. So I rented this movie from iTunes.
Okay.
For $5. The first half hour of the movie, every other beat of audio was missing. So it was like, hey, for like a half an hour.
Awesome.
I'm like, and quite honestly, I didn't miss anything. Like,
yeah, you honestly didn't. Like, it was.
No,
this is why I own it on DVD.
Yes.
No, you didn't miss anything. So I'm assuming you don't think this stands the test of time. This movie.
It does not. It didn't stand the test of time back at the time. Yeah, I mean, you know what though? Having said that, it would be fun to if you like got some friends together and did like a watch party or something.
It would be fun as a watch party.
Yeah, because it is. Like, it's so bad that it's funny. Like I actually kind of laughed out loud a couple of times with how stupid things were. Yeah. So I mean, there is that. It's like probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and it's trying to be serious, which makes it funny.
Yeah. So, now there's something in the I feel like I've seen the second movie, and I feel like there's something in it that as a kid it actually did catch my attention. Because I think there's a scene in the second movie where someone has a gun and he has the shield on the ground and he flips it with his foot and grabs it. Like he kind of flips it up. Because I remember doing that as a kid. Like we used to have like crab apple fights, and I'd use like a garbage can lid, and I'd practice flipping it and grabbing it. Like, and I think it's from that movie. I'll watch it. I will watch it and see just to see if it got any better. I'll report back maybe our next podcast. I'll do like a quick update.
Recap. I do think as I was looking for photos, this photo behind me, I was looking for photos. I did find one photo of him, and it looks like he's holding a hang glider. So
that's like a good hang glider chase.
Yep, there might be a hang gliding chase in this. That would make it worth it.
I love a hang glider chase. There's nothing better, you
can't go wrong with a good hang glider chase.
So lame.
Well, I'm glad we finally watched this thing.
Oh yeah, well, it's just part of the Marvel universe. It is. This would be one of the timelines of the Marvel universe. Yes. Now that it's all been broken off, this would be one of the splinter timelines for sure.
It's canon, 100%. You know that this guy is going to come back into one of the Avenger movies somehow. He's going to be brought back.
Would love if they brought some of these people back from like these really old movies, like that would be hilarious. In that exact costume, oh my god, I'd laugh.
They sort of did that on the DC side with the Flash. They had that big, massive crossover, and they brought back Burt Ward as Robin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remember? And Linda Carter, I think, was in it as Wonder Woman. Like they actually went back to the 70s. So I think DC, there's enough of these out there that I feel like bring Lou Ferrigno back in. He's still the same. All you
need is a cameo. Like you don't need much more than that, but it would be funny. Yeah. Like it would be really awesome. Funny. That's awesome. Well, we'll put a wrap on Captain America. Yep. And Pop Capacitor done. And thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. Back for a 5th season, of course. And you can always check us out on our socials. And I say this every time. I will try to be. I'm not bad on the socials, but not great. Yeah,
we've actually improved our socials.
I would say we've improved. I say we've improved. And we're not a breaking news podcast, but we comment. We're commenters on, what we see out there. So But yeah, it's exciting to be back, and please tell your friends to watch it or to check out the podcast portion of it. Last year, I think we did 7 or 8 last year.
I think we did 7 or 8. So I think we're doing a pretty good job of.
We started earlier this year than last year. I think we did our first one last year till like the end of October or something.
So
it was like
this year, it's already on a stronger start. We're good now.
I think we should do at least 2 Halloween movies this in October.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll do the spooky month here on Loop and Larry.
Perfect. Spooky month.
Spooky month. That's the best I can come up with. We'll work on that name. That name needs. We can workshop that a bit. It's
perfect.
Suddenly now it's a kid show. Spooky month. That's lame. So lame. The Captain America's rubbing off on me now.
We got to get out of this podcast.
Yeah, we got to get out now before we're stuck in 1979. All right, well, that's it for the show. We'll see you later. Thank you for listening to Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Bye-bye.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an elf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.